Yeah, the webinar is on. The webinar is on now. Yeah, the webinar is on. The meeting is in progress. Okay. Hello? Hello? Hi, everyone. So you're welcome to the Unlocking African Markets Africa Day Edition series. Actually, this is a very special edition, and I think I'll do well by actually wishing every one of us a happy Africa Day. So this is a very auspicious kind of day that we are celebrating the continent. We just felt that it's good for us to talk about something very important, especially because it concerns Africa. And you will all agree with me that the work that AfreximBank is doing on the continent, I think we need to begin to celebrate the organization. It's a very well-positioned organization with highly qualified and quality people in that organization driving, trade and investment on the continent. And it's one of the reasons why we are attracted to this organization and to really make the activities of AfreximBank known to many people. Especially what we are trying to do is to see how at the level of the Institute of Agribusiness Management Nigeria, how people can begin to know more about the activities of the Afreximbank and how to engage with the organization. And I'm very, very glad today that we have, our very able and capable brother in the house, one of the staff of the bank, who will be actually, taking us through a series of information and things that the organization is doing, the AfreximBank is doing on the continent, and in a way that will benefit each and every one of us. I think for me, what is important is to make it interactive. So it's going to be an interactive question. For some people, maybe if we are not able to take your question, we have your email. So we are going to actually be collecting some questions that probably maybe time may not allow us to take on this webinar, but we collect those questions and then forward those questions to our guest, who will now respond. So just be relaxed, don't worry. We will try to take a few questions, but if we can't take all the questions, then we will try to look for a way to email the questions to our guest. So yeah, without much ado, I think I'll be calling on our guest to introduce himself, and also to tell us a little bit about AfreximBank. Mr. Obisesan, you are welcome, sir. Hello? Hello? Yeah, okay, I think he's muted now. Okay. Hello? Hello, sir? Okay. Yeah, sorry about the technology stuff. He's trying to rejoin the conversation. So, okay. Yeah, why we try to wait for him. I think he only needs to unmute himself. Hello, sir. Can you unmute yourself?
Hello?
Great. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah.
Hello?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. I think to also make it more efficient on my part, maybe it would be great for me to use my headphone, just to make sure that we get high quality. Is it better now, sir?
Yes, it's better.
Okay, great. Okay, so I think without much ado, I just want you to go straight ahead and introduce yourself to our audience, and also try to tell us a little bit about AfreximBank. Then we'll try now and go into the main presentation. But before the main presentation from your side, after the brief introduction about yourself and your organization, we will now try to actually have your official presentation for today. Mr. Obisesan, please go ahead and let us meet you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Steve Arowolo. for inviting me to this forum and actually to showcase what AfreximBank have to offer in terms of this. My name is Afolabi Obisesan. I'm in Nigeria, but I work with African Export-Import Bank. I'm a manager in the Guarantees and Specialized Finance department of the bank. And AfreximBank as an institution is this year is 26 years of establishment of AfreximBank. AfreximBank is a Pan-African trade finance bank, and the trade finance issue that happened in the year 1990, and the African ministers actually mandated the African Development Bank to come up with a feasibility study of how that trade finance, and that led to the creation of AfreximBank in the year 1993. So AfreximBank is a Pan-African trade finance bank with a mandate to promote intra and extra African trade. AfreximBank this year is 26 years, as I've mentioned. AfreximBank is headquartered in Cairo, Egypt, and we have 4 regional offices. We have a regional office in Abuja, Nigeria, which covers the Anglophone West Africa. Another one in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire, which covers the Francophone West Africa and Central African region. There's another one in Harare, Zimbabwe, which covers the Southern African region. And there is one in Nairobi, temporarily in Nairobi, which covers the East African region. But that is moving to Kampala, Uganda, in the course of this year. So the branch actually covers the East African region. AfreximBank is, as I've mentioned, is a Pan-African bank with a mandate to support trade. We are rated today by Fitch and Moody's. We have a triple B rating from Fitch and a Baa1 rating from Moody's. These are investment grade rating, which actually enables us to do some of the things that we currently do. AfreximBank today is owned by African countries. Today, we have 51 African countries who are shareholders in AfreximBank. Algeria, Libya, Algeria, Somalia, out of the 54 countries. So we only have 3 countries to cover, and I think we are working around the clock to get everybody on board to be a shareholder in AfreximBank. We have 4 classes of shareholders in AfreximBank. There is a class A shareholder, which is actually the African countries, African government, which are either represented by their central bank or by their Ministry of Finance. Then we have also African Development Bank as is a pioneer shareholder, so it's also a class A shareholder. Then we have the class B shareholders, which are majorly corporates. Africa, and we can have the African Federal African Corporate. We have the likes of Access Bank in Nigeria. All the African financial institutions are members of AfreximBank shareholder. And we also have Dangote and the rest of them. Also a member of the class B shareholder of the bank. Then we have the class C shareholders, which are actually international financial institutions. So we have the likes of China Exim Bank, Indian Exim Bank, AEC, Citibank, Standard Chartered Bank, who are also a shareholder in AfreximBank under Class D. Then last year, we created another class of shareholder, which we call Class D. The Class D shareholders for us are financial investors. So institutional investors, retail investors like yourself can also invest to be a shareholder in AfreximBank. So we actually launched a depository receipt in Stock Exchange of Mauritius, where it is an over-the-counter depository receipt, which enables people to invest in the shares of AfreximBank, to be shareholder in AfreximBank. And with the stock exchange, it creates a platform to actually sell those shares and to exit whenever it is required. Now, those are the 4 classes of shareholders of AfreximBank. I think I want to stop here. So when we go into the presentation, I will also provide a detailed overview of the bank. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for that brief introduction. I think what I would just want to know along that line of your introduction is that what are some of the criteria for becoming, for instance, for country? I'm aware that you do country, there are member countries. So are there countries in Africa that are not yet members of AfreximBank, or that are not currently patronizing the bank? Can you shed more light on that? Because I'm aware that, yes, I'm aware that South Africa joined the bank few months ago or so. So what are those criteria for a country to be part of the bank, and who are those? Those countries in Africa that are not currently part of Afrexim? What are you guys doing to encourage them to come on board?
Okay, today we have 51 African countries who are members of AfreximBank, who are member countries of AfreximBank. And the criteria is simple. You have to subscribe to the shares of AfreximBank by signing our establishment agreement and signing all the statutory documents establishing the bank. And you also need to subscribe to the shares of the bank by making an equity contribution. So today, we have 51 African countries who are members. The only few countries who are not members is those ones are listed: Algeria, Libya, and Somalia. Those are the 3 countries that are not members of AfreximBank today. And what does it take to be a member of AfreximBank? I have explained that. But what are the benefits of being a member? The benefit is that you will be able the bank will be able to provide its products and product offerings to you. You can benefit from the product offerings of the bank in those countries. The bank is set up as a PPP. So it's more or less, we are a development bank, but we are commercially run. So we are more or less like a commercial bank with a development mandate. So we do our things commercially. There is no concessional lending, but our main goal is actually to support trade in Africa and to intervene in the area of trade in Africa.
Oh, thank you very much. So yeah, I'm aware that you have a robust kind of a presentation for us, if I may say. But I would just like to also, before we have your introduction, your presentation, I would like to use this occasion to just let people know about our institute, the Institute for Agribusiness Management Nigeria. So what we do basically is just to be like that umbrella body, a kind of a professional body that make agribusiness happen in Nigeria. And I think the institute has been very forthright in making sure that we disseminate quality information, and to also engage stakeholders within the agribusiness sector. I think our passion is basically to make sure that agribusiness work for Nigeria, because we have this idea that if Nigeria gets it right in the agribusiness sector, I mean, Nigeria can feed Africa, and Africa can feed the world. So that is the driving force, and that is the way we are positioned. So a lot of people will want to get to know about IAMN, so I will encourage them to read more about what we do on the website. It's www.agribusinessnigeria.org. So people can get to know and read more about the Institute of Agribusiness Management. I think the other thing I also would like us to know before we have the official presentation for today is for people to get to know about the Unlocking African Market. Unlocking African Market is a kind of a Pan-African vision that we started a few years ago somewhere in South Africa. And the idea is for us to be able to see how we can leverage the opportunities on the continent to attract and to promote intra-African trade and investment. And we do this. This is one of the avenues by which we engage, with our community. We also do annual conferences. Like this year now, we are looking at having our conferences in about 4 African cities. So we are still working on it. Before now, you get to know about where the conferences will be taking place, and in all the other places that we will be having our engagement with people. So I encourage you to actually, follow us on Facebook. We have very good information dissemination channel where people can engage with us. So unlocking African market is actually what it is. We want to unlock opportunities for our people all across the continent. So we engage policymakers, we engage business people, we engage even people at the local level, smallholders, corporate businesses, and all that. Yeah. So yeah, that is that about the introduction. We'll get to know more. And as a flag off, one of the things that I also want us to know is that we recently launched our master classes. The master classes, the first edition is going to be taking place in South Africa's Stellenbosch. We're partnering with the University of Stellenbosch Business School to organize this master class. And it's going to be first of its kind. And I'm sure that most of you would like to be part of it. I'm looking at engaging with Mr. Afolabi maybe after the session to see if we can have him and a few others from the bank at the masterclass session. It's really going to be great. It's going to be happening somewhere around December. We are going to be emailing you the date for this very powerful masterclass, whereby we unpack a lot of things relating to Africa and the future. So be on the lookout. We have your email. We send you all the details. Yeah, thank you so much. Now, let's back to the business of the day. Yeah, we want to talk about agribusiness. We also want to address one of the main challenges, which is finance. You see, and I think there's nothing as good as having the right person with the right practical knowledge, practical experience, hands-on experience about how this has been done over the years to talk to us about those things that we need to know. So I want you to just, maybe wherever you are, take your notepad, take some notes as you get these presentations from Mr. Obisesan. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, just to give a bit of background to this, AfreximBank, as I mentioned, is a Pan-African trade finance bank, and we have product offerings that actually cuts across the different sectors in Africa. For you to benefit from AfreximBank, one, we expect the country to be a member country of AfreximBank, and that gives benefit to the private sector to actually deal with the bank. AfreximBank is a wholesale bank. What I mean by wholesale bank, we are more or less like we are not a commercial or a retail banking. We don't do retail banking. What we do is more of wholesale banking, looking at large corporates. And that will mean that there are some SMEs that we cannot deal with directly because of their size. And so if we want to deal, that doesn't mean we don't deal with SME, but we deal with SME working with local financial institutions by providing financial facilities for them to actually be able to lend to SME. I will expatiate on that as we go along. Now, AfreximBank, as I've mentioned to you, is a Pan-African bank, and we operate based on a 5-year strategic plan. This year, we are operating, our strategic plan for this period is actually running from 2016 to 2021. So there are 4 strategic pillars, which I want you to know about the bank based on what we operate today. The first pillar is to promote intra-African trade. And what we've seen is that the trade within Africa, trading within Africa is actually very low compared to trade outside Africa. Africa, the external parties, they tend to trade more with Europe and the Western world than trading among themselves. Now, the bank's objective is actually to see how they can promote intra-African trade. And there are quite some things that we are doing along that front. One, we are doing it by way of some companies which we call intra-African champions, intra-African trade champions. These companies are companies who are actually expanding their operations outside their host country. They are expanding their operation outside the domestic country where they operate. For example, Dangote has cement plant in nearly most countries in Africa. So we have identified Dangote as an inter-African champion. We have identified a company like Sweden Electric in Egypt as an inter-African champion, because Sweden Electric is also expanding beyond the shores of Egypt. We have another company in Ethiopia, ETG. There are so many of them that we have identified. And what we are doing with them is to provide financing to support them to penetrate and do their business even within the shores of Africa, everywhere in Africa. Two, we are also promoting inter-African trade by doing advocacy. Now, what we have seen is that there are some things that are inhibitors, or there are some things that are actually not allowing trade flows to go in Africa. So we are working with the different monetary zones in Africa to create a platform that we harmonize policies and that we make inter-African trade to be expanded. For example, we are working with the African Union Commission on the Continental Free Trade Arrangement, because we feel with that, after AfCFTA, the African Continental Free Trade Arrangement, we feel with that arrangement being in place, it is going to promote free trade flow within Africa. So we are also championing that with the African Union Commission. As part of our advocacy, we are working with the monetary zone to work around the border issues. For example, if you see a company in Nigeria that is trunking a product from Nigeria to Ghana, or from Nigeria to Cote d'Ivoire, for example, it's going to, because of the different custom policy in different borders. So you will see that you cannot move beyond your shores because of those different policies in borders. So we are working with the monetary zone to see how we can harmonize all these policies to promote trade and allow free trade within Africa. Part of the advocacy work is what led to the inaugural Inter-African Trade Fair. Egypt, if you are aware, there was a trade fair in Cairo, Egypt, which we call the first Inter-African Trade Fair. That is part of the solutions that we are bringing on the table to see how we can promote inter-African trade. Two, in terms of our strategic pillar, we also have the objective to promote industrialization and export development in Africa. Now, we feel that Africa needs to industrialize. Now, what we see today in Africa is we see exports of our commodities in primary form with no value addition. We export crude oil and we export it out of the shores of Africa, and that is the revenue. So we are a commodity-based economy, and we are import-driven. Even our commodities, and there is no value addition. For example, if you go to Cote d'Ivoire or Ghana, where they have cocoa. Now they export the cocoa in raw form, they export it to the developed market, and the developed market we add some values and bring it back in form of chocolate, in form of cocoa powder, and that one even boosts more revenue than even exporting the cocoa in its raw form. So part of the thing that we are doing is to support light manufacturing, because we feel when we start supporting light manufacturing, it's going to create employment on one hand, and Africa can now move beyond commodity play. We can start doing certain things to add value to our commodity and also supporting the industrial park. We are supporting creation of industrial park using shared services, bringing expertise from the developed market, established business. Those industrial
hello, you are freezing. Oh, network. Hello. Wow. Hello. Hello, sir. Just frozen up. Hello? Hello? Yeah, I think it's a network on his part. Yeah, I'm sure he's going to join us again. So yeah. So yeah, I think basically what he was trying to let us know is that some of the activities of the bank on the continent, and how they've been able to actually move around to actually fulfill their mandates. So I believe he's going to come back online to join us. We don't seem to be having him now, but I'm sure he's going to come up. So, but yeah, I think for me, what is actually really important is for us to be able to know what is the need, what is the need for me as a yeah, that's the question most of most of the people in this room today, this webinar, attending this webinar today would like to know. What is in all this for me as a business person? What is in this for me as someone who actually is a stakeholder in agribusiness? And I think that's very important. That's a very important question, and the way to actually really look at it. I believe we are going to have him back. Yeah, I think he's having some issues with his network. So I think for me, what is important is for us to be in a position whereby we can actually ask ourselves those questions in terms of what is the need for me as a stakeholder in the agribusiness sector. And when you look at it, the best way to actually figure out our position in the agribusiness sector, especially as far as Nigeria is concerned, is for us to be able to ask ourselves, what is my position in the whole value chain scheme of things? I think it's back now. Yeah. Hello, we lost you. Mute. Yeah, you have to unmute yourself, sir. Okay. Unmute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, you're muted. You're muted. Okay, you can continue now. We lost you for a few minutes. Okay, sir. You can continue now? I think.
Our second strategic pillar is industrialization and export development, and this also fits into agribusiness, where we support agribusiness for export. So we support agro-allied business to actually produce goods that are fit for export, and those are part of the things that we do along that line. Our third strategic pillar is trade finance leadership. Now, because as we have mentioned, the bank is a trade finance bank, so we also want to strengthen our base in terms of supporting trade, as well as supporting trade enabling infrastructure. I must mention at this point that in as much as we want to support trade, we feel there are some enablers of trade that we must also support for trade to. Now, so we also support trade enabling infrastructure, like supporting power, energy, by supporting telecommunication, by supporting roads and another port infrastructure, airport, and the rest of these. Because we feel that all those things must be in place in order for trade to flow. We also support building of hospitals, building of manufacturing companies, because all these works together in order to make trade to flow. Those are some of our strategic pillars. What are the specifics in terms of what are the products that we have to support agriculture? As I have mentioned to us, we can look at export finance products, where we are supporting agricultural business by importing capital equipment like tractors and all those agricultural equipment, which can be used to enhance production of agricultural products. Those are some of the things that we do. But as we go along, I will go into specific in terms of how this can be done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Yeah, I mean that's mouthful, as they say. Okay, now I'll go straight to my question, and already we have, I think, few questions have already come in, which I'm going to read out to you. Now, I'm going to, I want us to look at it from agricultural value chain perspective. I think it's good to know which aspect of the value chain do you concentrate your financing on. You will agree with me that fine, there are, just like in any other business ventures, there are risks and there are risks. So now, but along the agricultural value chain, which of course, like I always say in any forum I have the opportunity to speak, that the jobs are tied within the value chain. The money is tied within the value chain. So, and if we can get the agricultural value chain right, it's really going to be a very good thing for the continent. So I think it will be good to know, sir, which aspect of the value chain do you concentrate your financing, your investment on? So let's start the question from there. I'm talking in terms of just agri now. Yeah.
In terms of value chain, I mentioned just now that we can look at the primary production, let's say in terms of importation of capital equipment that is required for primary production. We can support those capital equipment importation through an export finance arrangement. Now, where we now look at the primary production, we now be more around, now if you do the primary production, do you have a storage facility? Do you have a distribution network? Do you have the off-takers that will take this particular stuff? So I can actually provide the financing that cuts across the different value chain. I can go to a storage value chain, for example, and provide financing to the extent that I know where my money is going to come out from. So it depends on how we are looking at it. So the bank can actually provide financing to cover the entire value chain, the agri value chain, to the extent that we know where the money is going to come out from. Okay.
So
is that clear?
It's very clear. The reason why I asked that question is that different businesses are at different stage of the value chain. Especially if you talk in terms of if you look into the SME sector, the people who are like just maybe the business is still pretty much medium scale or small scale. So it will be good to know what are the requirements, because like some people who like they believe out there, some people feel that this AfreximBank is so big, we can't even find ourselves in there. These are African businesses. Do you have like a kind of a product or other product that are specifically designed for smallholders, for medium scale processors or people that are willing to actually take this agribusiness, their businesses in the agri sector to a different level? For instance, you mentioned something about the industrial parks, and I remember the other day when I was having a webinar session with your colleague, the director in charge of intra-African trade and investment, Mrs. Anayo. She also mentioned this issue of industrial park and all that, which to me is very fascinating. These are some of the things that I think Africa needs to focus on to really help us in terms of maximizing the value chain so that we can domesticate some of our local production. So now, let us know, how is AfreximBank supporting SMEs? Let me put it at that, especially on the agribusiness sector. And one of the things I think we should emphasize is that what are the requirements? What do they need to do to really be able to qualify for some of the support in terms of financing that you provide for your clients?
Okay, you can hear me now.
Yes,
as I mentioned, AfreximBank is a wholesale bank.
Okay.
In terms of our threshold limit, in terms of support to any corporate, we in terms of loan size, we expect our loan size not to be below $5 million. We expect a company that will come to AfreximBank to have an asset base and a turnover of not less than $10 million. So what that means is that most SME will not qualify on that arrangement. But the way we work with local financial institutions. Here we provide facility to support the local financial institution underlying project. For example, we have identified certain sectors to be critical sectors, in which agriculture is one of it. So I can provide financing to a local financial institution in Nigeria to support the specific, to make specific intervention to agricultural sector.
Okay.
Are you getting my point? So that is one where we can provide financing. Now, if you have an agricultural player, an agricultural sector player, which is actually mid-size, that meets that requirement, that particular player can benefit from AfreximBank intervention directly.
Okay.
Are you getting my point? And the benefit can cross across these various value chain of agribusiness, as I have mentioned. What is critical is to have visibility of where the money is going to come out from. Now, if I have visibility of the final, the repayment source, I can support the entire value chain.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because that's very important, and I'm aware. I'm very sure that question will be very critical in the minds of all the people, all the participants in this webinar. Thank you so much for throwing light on this. Also, I think it's also good for us to know, because the challenge now on the continent is that this issue of finance is a big issue, especially to smallholder business owner who actually want to trade, they want to export their products and all that. So I think it would be good to know whether there are, because one of the things you mentioned is that one of your functions is advocacy. Advocacy, and the way I understand it, is to be in a position whereby maybe the bank is advocating for more trade and investment opportunity and all that. So I'd like to know, especially, of course, we are aware that recently the Africa Free Trade Zone, the agreement that was recently ratified by most countries. At their policy, do you advocate for policies that could favor this other maybe medium scale beneficiary or smallholder? So what is your role in advocacy? I think it's good for me to know.
Thank you very much. As I mentioned, we also do advocacy as part of our role. And we've seen that we've had live example of some areas where we are advocating. One is in the area of supply chain financing, where we are encouraging African countries to start using factoring product, which is more or less like a receivable discounting product to support SME. Because we feel, for example, if an SME can have access to credit from a supplier under a deferred payment structure, with a bank providing liquidity to the supplier to support his working capital requirement, it will go a long way in supporting financing of some of the things that we are doing. So we are actually doing that in some areas around forfeiting and factoring, which I just described. They are receivable discounting instrument, which we support credit being given to a client to support his working capital requirement. And we are also doing advocacy in African trade, and we've seen our team traveling to everywhere in Africa to actually advocate for the National Assembly to pass a bill to support such interventions. Okay,
that's good. Yeah, somebody is asking a very good question here. And the question is that you made mention of the threshold, the minimum being $5 million US.
I just responded to that question now.
Okay.
Something like SME exporter coming together under the umbrella of an institution. Yes, I just responded to it. That is possible.
Okay. Are there legal framework? You want to check their legal framework, or what are the things you will look for before that will happen?
Now, my first, definitely I have to look for I have to be sure that the company or the association has a borrowing power. So that is critical in terms of lending, to be sure that you must establish a borrowing entity. So because this is not different from the cooperative coming together, pulling resources together to get financing. So you must create an association that has a borrowing entity power, and what is critical is the visibility in terms of where the repayment is going to come from, and in terms of the security structure, which will be whatever I'm financing and the case may be. So those are some of the basic requirements that we have to look out for. But in terms of the client of AfreximBank, we have a standard onboarding process where you will do your normal KYC and AML requirement. And we will also ask for certain statutory information for us to onboard you as a client of the bank.
Okay, that's good. And still talking about export, import, I would like to ask this question because it's easy for someone to just focus on the export, which is good, which is actually the main theme, the main focus of this webinar. But I would like to know, do you support initiatives that involve imports, but there is value addition? Because what I mean by that is that, countries and companies can benefit, not necessarily maybe from export and all that, but there are some situations whereby you import certain commodities into the country and values need to be added. So are there provisions for how do you go about a kind of encouraging that kind of initiative as well from the bank's perspective?
As I've mentioned, the bank is a trade finance bank, so we definitely support import and export. Now, import from the angle of buying capital equipment, which we support exports. So I can buy equipment, for example, from an import standpoint to support my export. So my import need may be equipment or input, farm input, that we do value addition to get my final product. Now the final product may be exported. So we support the entire value chain. So we can support import by providing financing to support the importation of capital equipment to help you to enhance your exports. And we can also support export. And also I need to mention, one thing that we have also realized is that in terms of the export from Africa, most of the exports from Africa are considered to be substandard or not meeting the requirement of the exporter's country. So the bank has taken an initiative where we are launching a testing and standardization center in Nigeria. And the idea of that is actually to standardize our export to actually align the requirement of the exporter country in terms of testing our product for export, so that the rejection rate will come down to the barest minimum, and we can actually enhance revenue in terms of exporting our agricultural product or any other product as the case may be.
Oh wow, that's the kind of the quality control measures. Yeah,
correct.
That's very nice. Now, I'm still expecting some of your questions. We have our participants there listening to this very interesting discussion engagement with Mr. Obisesan from AfreximBank in Cairo, Egypt. And so please send in your questions. We are responding. You can just type it there and then we'll respond to those questions. Then, moving forward, I think it's also good to talk about the challenges we have on the continent. And I think for me, one of the things that is clear is that infrastructure is a big problem. And oftentimes serve as impediment to this trade finance and all the things that could actually make investment run smoothly on the continent. So what is your organization, AfreximBank, doing to really address that impediment, that issue? Even with this issue of intra-African free trade zone and all that, we still see that infrastructure will be a very serious impediment in trying to see how people can maximize the opportunity of one market Africa. What is the bank doing to actually make sure that this is addressed?
Okay, thank you very much. As I mentioned in my earlier comment, the bank have also identified that for you to support trade, there are some enablers to trade. And infrastructure is considered to be enablers to trade. So the bank also supports by providing financing to trade enabling infrastructure. So we have identified energy, power, to be a trade enabler. So we provide financing, long-term financing, to support IPP, to support independent power project, to support even national power project of the country. where you are selling power to the grid. So we provide financing for that. We provide financing for road, port, airport infrastructure, because we feel that those infrastructure must be in place for trade to flow. So we provide financing, medium to long-term financing for that under a project finance arrangement. So we also support medical tourism. We support, we support hospitals, we support manufacturing companies, because we consider all these to be trade enablers. We support telecommunication, because we consider all these to be trade enablers in terms of enabling trade to flow. Thank you.
Okay, cool. There's a question here. There are two questions actually. One is from Mr. Tope Adewuya. So and the question goes like this: financial institutions shine away from funding produce trading, given the losses encountered last year, especially the cashew. The aggressor in turn, the aggregators in turn need funding constantly to build and sustain trading volume. How do you balance this such that they can get medium-term funding for about 2 to 5 years without getting bumped? I can read the question again if it's a lengthy one. I'm not sure if you get it. You've seen the question. Okay, sir. Then the second one, I want you to take the two together. So the second question says, financing exports is a huge problem. What can be done to address the problem? That is from Blessing Irabo. Please kindly do justice to these questions as we expect more questions. Over to you, sir.
Okay. Financial institutions shying away from supporting produce from traders. We've seen instances where we provide financing for export trading companies. So where export trading companies can come together as an aggregator where they aggregate the produce. And as I've mentioned, what is critical for us is actually to understand where the cash is. Now, if you as an aggregator or as a trading company that is bringing it together, you have a responsibility to coordinate with the producer, to bring it for storage, to bring all the goods together, and also to show to us that you have an off-taker that's going to buy whatever you are buying. So in a nutshell, the bank can provide financing where you come together and we have visibility in terms of the trade, in terms of the cash, where the cash is coming from. So it's something that we can look at. It's something that we have done with there is a company called ETG. I think they are based in Ethiopia. They are an export trading company. And there are so many export trading companies in Zimbabwe, tobacco export trading companies that we support today. And it is based on the same arrangement of knowing where the cash is, of knowing who will buy your produce. It's also of knowing how you go about aggregating those produce in a manner that we protect cash flow, that we protect that the level of diversion or the level of risk being taken is considered to be very low.
Okay. Yes, there's another question there from Mr. Ayodele Olorunfemi. If you can read it, it's a very, very important question that says that I think Africa should focus more on export of finished value-added produce instead of raw commodities. We don't want to keep exporting raw cocoa beans while our farmers in Ghana, Ivory Coast, and Nigeria remain poor, and chocolate manufacturers in Europe flying around the world in private jets. Why not having a single cocoa tree in their country? Can AfreximBank discourage the export of raw commodities by disenabling finance for that space, while encouraging the export of value-added products by providing structured finance to entrepreneurs producing finished produce for export? Okay. So I want you to take that question before we take the second one.
Okay, part of the thing that we are doing, when I was talking about our strategic objective is industrialization, encouraging African countries to start adding value to instead of using the commodity. So we are actually working with government to start creating light manufacturing companies, bringing expertise from abroad, allowing people to come on the shore of Africa to create business, to add that technology that will enable us to add value to what we are producing. And that is the idea of the industrialization. And that is what we also try to support with our industrial park initiative, because we feel that by the time we bring those companies together and we actually encourage the Chinese and the developed market where they are doing all this, adding value to this product, to come and establish in the industrial park. We will be able to transfer technology, we will be able to add value to our commodities to enhance revenue. And that is part of what we are doing today. It takes time. It's not something that you can do, because today the revenue driver for most African countries is the export of this commodity. But we are actually talking to them to embrace this new idea. But it's not something that can be rushed into. It takes time, and that is the way that we are looking at it. So we are supporting the industrial park, while at the same time advocating, talking to the African government on the need to embrace the industrial park approach, on the need to start adding value to our commodity and also enhance the revenue that we get out of it.
Wow, thank you so much. I think there's one other, as a kind of a follow-up to that question, somebody wants to know, a person of Mr. Raphael Tinuola wants to know whether you have success stories about all these in other African countries as far as your operations are concerned.
Okay, thank you very much. We have had success story in different sectors. We have, for example, we've been able to follow Dangote, for example, leaving Nigeria to other parts of the country. And we have also supported him, even in some areas where he's having issue in getting approval. We have used our influence, we have used our preferential creditor status to get the African government to actually soft pedal and provide the requisite regulatory approval and the requisite business environment for the business to thrive. We've also supported a company in Egypt here called Swedi Electric. Now, Swedi is an electrical equipment producer, and they produce prepaid meters. And we've seen that they've penetrated the African market. They've been able to move beyond the shores of Egypt to other African markets using AfreximBank as a platform to do that. And we have several examples of companies that have been supported along this area. In terms of the industrial park, we have now part of the thing that has led to increase in membership of the AfreximBank shareholder is actually because of the evident thing that the government can see in terms of our interventions. The intervention have led to so many countries coming to join AfreximBank because they can actually see the evidence of what we have done in terms of our intervention and the impact it has on the people.
Oh, great. So now, still taking questions now. I mean, it's good the way we make this thing interactive. There's another question from Mr. Cyprian Ojum. He wants to know whether, he said, is trade enabling infrastructure the fourth pillar? That's talking about your presentation. Now, I'll take his second question again. He wants to know whether trade enabling infrastructure is your fourth pillar. Then his second question from Mr. Cyprian Ojum is that on the second pillar, which is industrialization and export development, what exactly is AfreximBank doing in Nigeria today in the area of agricultural industry, and how can we participate? That is a very direct question. Please, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Our second pillar is industrialization and export development. Our third pillar is trade finance leadership. And our fourth pillar speaks more around internal capacity, which is financial soundness, which is more for the bank than an external pillar. It's not an external, it's an internal pillar, so to say. So the three pillars that actually speaks to our intervention in terms of our business is one, promoting inter-African trade, two, is internationalization and export development, and three, to actually to maintain trade finance leadership. In terms of your second question, we don't have specific program for agribusiness, but as I've mentioned to you, where our business fits today is in the area of export development and industrialization. So we are willing to support business that have shown that capacity, that have shown that interest in the area of industrialization and export development, which also include agribusiness.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Another question from Blessing Irabo, which I think for me is a very good question based on gender. She wants to know, how is your organization supporting women in agriculture? Do you render support program for them in terms of equipment, both for farming and for processing. Just relating to gender, do you genderize your financing?
Unfortunately, we don't get genderized for now.
Okay.
We provide financing and we make intervention for both men and women, as the case may be. But
Okay.
I know that there are some development banks that have a gender-specific program. African Development Bank is running with one. There is a gender empowerment program to encourage women in business.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, the other question says, which state do we have this industrialization? How do farmers and processing key into it? I think she wants you to give an example of maybe states in Nigeria that are currently doing this, and how are the farmers and processors actually taking advantage of this opportunity?
I think it's an ongoing process. I don't have the specific state in Nigeria, but what I know is that the bank is working with Nigerian government, and that they are talking about establishing an industrial park, most likely in the southern part of Nigeria. I don't think a state has been recognized. But in Nigeria, for example, the testing center, which is the quality control center, that one is in Ota, Ogun State.
Okay. Okay. Great. Great. Then the other question, I think this probably may be our last question as we try to wind up. It's from Lolade Temitope Ogungbe. Say, what is the interest on loan and how easy is it to access this loan? Good question. Over to you.
It will be difficult to provide interest on loan because the pricing of a loan depends on several factors. One is the funding cost, the cost of funding. What I mean by the cost of funding is the cost that at which the bank can access loan, because the bank also raises money from external sources. We raise money from capital market, we raise money from other institutions. So that will form the cost of funding. The second thing is the cost of risk. What risk are we carrying? We have to factor that in. You know, what is the cost of our risk? Then the third thing is our overhead expenses. All those factors are put together to determine an interest for a loan. So I cannot say to you today that this will be the interest for a particular loan. Other thing that I also need to mention, we operate as a commercial institution. We don't have concessional lending. We operate as a commercial institution based on the facility that we are providing.
Okay. Wow. That's very good. That's very important. So you're still going to give us your closing remarks. But before then, I would like to find out, recently, I'm aware because I follow your activities a lot at the bank. Because I see you guys are really doing pretty well, and I think it's good for Africa. You recently had a meeting in Morocco. Can you give us an idea of what the meeting was? I mean, I'm talking about the bank. It was a mega event. It was a big event about one of the meetings that AfreximBank gather people from all walks of life together. What about that event, and what are some of the takeaways from that event? If you could just quickly let us into that.
The event in Morocco, if I understand correctly, it was in November 2018. And that was the structured finance seminar. Hello?
Okay, I'm listening.
Structured trade finance seminar was held in Casablanca, and it gathered financial institutions to actually speak to them to build capacity around trade finance instrument, structuring trade finance facility, and among others. Okay,
good. And we have, I think, 2 more questions here. We are beginning to wind up now. I said, do you provide guarantees to commodities traders seeking funding from other local financial institutions?
Yes, that is part of our product offerings. We can provide guarantee, because part of the issue that people have with agriculture, one is with SME generally, is one, the issue around security, not having security, collateral. And the bank actually want to de-risk themselves. The bank feel that there is high risk in agriculture, and there is a need to look for a de-risking tool. So the bank provides a de-risking tool by providing guarantee to enable the bank to provide lending to agricultural sector and to SME, as the case may be, because that will help the bank to manage issue of collateral and also to manage issue around pricing. Because part of the issue that is actually inhibiting agricultural business is actually increased pricing and the fact that financial institutions are unwilling to provide facility for them. So the way we are approaching it is by providing guarantee, which will enable the bank to de-risk and as well as enable them to provide facility directly to the agricultural sector. Okay,
thank you so much. We're winding up. Yeah, Blessing Irab also want to know, the question you answered now was actually from Mr. Tokwe Adewuya. Thank you so much for sending your questions, guys. Another question from Blessing Irab, he wants to know how they can get the materials from this webinar. I can assure you, within the next 24-48 hours, if you visit our YouTube channel, you will be in a position to actually, watch this seminar. We are recording it. If you visit our Facebook, like the page, and then you can follow whenever it is posted. You have it there. We try as much as possible to make this information very public and accessible to people, and so that people can begin to make informed decisions along the line of what one of the things we are trying to achieve on the continent. So the information is not going to be exclusive. We are going to make sure that you actually have access to it directly like that. Okay, so thank you so much, guys. We just have to quickly try to wrap things up now. But before we wrap up, I just want you to know, like the first intra-African trade was, to me, a very huge success. I think being the first on the continent where AfreximBank is able to actually bring stakeholders together within and outside Africa. And I'm aware that the second intra-African trade fair is going to be taking place in Kigali. So what are some of the structure that has been put in place for people to actually participate and maximize this opportunity that is taking place? Have you guys started promoting it? People were asking me the other time whether we're in touch with you guys, because as much as possible as an organization, we would like to mobilize from our end. This is what we do, and we feel that the bank is actually leading the way, and we want to actually follow and make sure that we also make positive impact along the way. If you could throw more light on that, sir.
Okay, I think the East African Trade Fair was launched about 2 weeks ago in Kigali, to be precise, May 15. So it has been launched, it has been inaugurated, and the committee has also been inaugurated, and the preparations are underway. What we can do is to connect you with the people who are organizing it, and I think it's still early days because it's going to be in 2020. But as we go along, we can actually connect you with the responsible department so that you can engage them to get all the information required for you to participate.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Mr. Obisesan, for your time. So we just want to hear your final thoughts. We want you to, what kind of advice and encouragement you have for our institute, the Institute of Agribusiness Management, and also for this concept of unlocking African markets? And generally also your final thoughts, and then we try to call it a day. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I want first and foremost to say thank you for inviting me to actually make this presentation. And I think the questions are actually very revealing, and I thank you. I believe I'm able to provide certain information that you don't have before now. In terms of my remark, I think this is a good platform to actually unlock African market and to actually unlock the potentials that we have in Africa. And I think working with AfreximBank will also enable us to actually achieve the desired objective of why this organization is set up. As I've mentioned to you, AfreximBank has products we can use to intervene in the market and to de-risk those inherent risks that have been identified by financial institutions in terms of providing lending. And I think we should engage more to see where the opportunities are and how we can support in terms of working together. And I think the association should also use itself as an advocacy group to talk to government in terms of policy initiative, in terms of policy change, in order to promote and encourage to promote the objective of the association in terms of unlocking capacity. So I think in a nutshell, I think it's a good platform to actually look at different opportunities that we have in the market and how our members can actually benefit from those opportunities.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. This is wonderful. What a day to celebrate the Africa Day. I think you've really answered some of the questions. There are quite a few questions that are coming up, but what we do, we can email those ones to you. As like you have rightly said, we want to make sure that we keep the conversation on. Unlocking Africa Markets is the platform, and our Institute of Agribusiness Management is the association. And like people can read more about this, about the association on our website. And the Unlocking Africa Market, you can follow us, you can like us on Facebook and follow, subscribe to our YouTube channels. Even on the YouTube channel, you can watch, try to listen to past seminar series that we have held. And I believe that we are in this for real, and Africa will be better for this initiative. Once again, Mr. Obisesan, I must thank you. We actually intrude on your weekend. Thank you so much. We appreciate the time you have spent with us, and the kind of heart you have put into explaining some of these questions. I believe our people are really satisfied. And then if there are more questions, we email them to you. Thank you so much. We will engage more. Thank you so much, sir. You must enjoy the rest of your evening. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye. Cheers. Thanks.